you want to achieve success in life, you have to set yourself goals to set yourself up to succeed. But how do you do this? Well, today that's exactly what we cover in this video with the help of the successful entrepreneur Dan Lok. Before we begin, if you enjoyed today's video and want more practical inspiration, then please consider subscribing for more content like this and leave a thumbs up for the video to let me know that you want more. Today we look at how to set goals in life. Why? Well, the truth is people often have an idea of what they want in life, but then set their goals in a way that's destined to end in failure. Goal setting is an art and requires understanding on firstly how to set them and why you have to set them correctly. You see, if you don't set your goals correctly, you won't get the most out of them, leading to procrastination, demotivation, and ultimately ending up with you giving up on something that could have had great potential. I'm guilty of this as much as anyone. I have a history of starting things which I never followed through with. It's from these experiences that I've learnt the importance of well-defined goals and understanding what differentiates a well thought out goal compared to a poorly considered one. Also, please stay tuned to the end, as not only do we cover how to set goals, but also how to follow through and achieve your goals. In addition, today we'll learn from Dan Lok, who is a hugely successful entrepreneur who has come from hard times in the past to achieve his goals in his life. So let's not hesitate and get straight into the tips. The first is to have a vision. This seems incredibly simple, but to begin any venture you must first know what you want. This is essentially finding your purpose, which is a subject I intend to do a video on in the future. Assuming that you have an understanding of your purpose already at this point, you need a vision of precisely what you are working towards. This can't be unclear, but rather must have absolute certainty, as if though you aren't dreaming, but are instead actually living out the vision. The reason for this is because by having clarity on what you're working towards, you will not only be more motivated to work towards that vision, but you know precisely what the outcome is that you're working towards. For some, this comes in the form of living life in a certain way, with a nice house, a family, financial security, or the freedom to travel. For others, especially businesses, this comes in the way of hitting targets and numbers. In both cases, having clarity gives certainty of what it is that you're working towards. In the case of Dan Lok, when he was young, his family had financial difficulties. So for him, his vision was simple. It was to be financially secure so that he could live life without the stresses of money hanging over him. This leads to the next goal, which is to have extremely specific goals. You start off with that vision and you begin the process to break it down. For example, in your long-term goals, how much do you intend to accomplish in a year's time? Be specific and ambitious, but don't be unrealistic, as this will hamper you in the long run. How do you ensure that you are creating realistic targets? You have to conduct research and have evidence to back up your targets and their feasibility. Once you set your year goal, set the 6-month target to ensure that you can keep track halfway through the year. Then go through a process of breaking that down, from 6 months to a 3-month target, then a monthly target, then a weekly target, and finally set yourself daily targets. Here you set yourself up to create daily to-do lists, but the process of breaking down the target sets you up in a couple of ways. The first is that you give yourself more manageable targets. A long-term vision can be daunting, but breaking it down into bite-sized chunks help it to seem more realistic. This will be phenomenal for motivation and focus on ensuring you keep sight of the target. The second is by breaking down the goals, you keep checkpoints on your performance against your goals. You will be able to take the necessary action to adjust to your targets, such as if you miss a deadline, it's much easier to catch up on a daily missed goal than a 3-month missed goal.
So when it comes to goal setting, number one, you have to be very specific and you cannot be vague. So making money, that's a wish, that's a dream. A goal is I want to make $100,000 in income by the end of the year or in the next 12 months, right? That's a goal. It has to be very specific and very precise. So let's take money because it's the easiest. Let's say your goal is to make $100,000 in the next 12 months. what you want to do is the very first secret. What I always do is I would reverse engineer. So whatever goal that I have, I say that's my goal. I want to reverse engineer and break that down into what do I need to do, what do I need to focus on, what skills do I need to upgrade? Because usually, when you have a goal, that you need to learn and upgrade your skills or upgrade your mental capacity.
The next point on setting up goals is to set goals for various aspects of life. Our lives are made up of multiple facets, and only focusing on one or two of these is fundamentally going to lead to dissatisfaction in other areas. To go back to Dan Locke, he breaks down this into 4 distinct categories, which include health, personal, finance, and contribution. Health is a pretty self-explanatory one, as it's about your personal well-being and ensuring physically and mentally you set goals to care for yourself. Personal goals are either going to be setting goals for relationships or personal passions. It's about setting goals in areas that stimulate you and are of interest. Financial goals are again fairly easy to understand, as it's about ensuring you're making a living to support yourself and your loved ones. Finally, and possibly the most important, is contribution goals. Contribution goals are about what you give to others. I often say on the channel that to lead a life that's satisfying and fulfilling, it's not just about what you get in life that matters, but also what you give. And with this in mind, you need to set goals to give, and not just what you want to receive. Now there's one key to goal setting. Don't try to achieve them all at once, because you will stretch yourself too thin. For example, you want to be healthy, but also financially free. In this case, perhaps consider investing your energy predominantly in the goal that's more important to you at this point in time. If this is being financially free, then spend more energy on that and do enough to care for your health until you achieve it. Once you do, you can perhaps then shift some focus to getting your washboard abs.
You want to set goals in major areas of your life. So in my case, I recommend 4 different areas. The very first area is your health, because without health, you have nothing. Doesn't matter how successful you are, doesn't matter how much money you have, without health, you're done. So health goal. Second is what I call personal goal. So personal goal could be relational goal, could be spending time with friends, could be spending time with family, could be going on vacation or that hobby that you have, right? I happen to like martial art. Whatever it is that you enjoy, you want to play golf, that's perfectly fine. So personal goals, what is it that you want to accomplish? The third category is finance, and business also falls under finance. So what are the finance goals? How much money you want to make, how much money you want to save, if you're doing investments, what kind of return you want. That's your finance goals. And the fourth, which I think is extremely important, which in many first 10 years of my life I didn't have, is contribution and growth goals. So contribution, who are you impacting, who are you helping?
The final step of setting goals is to write them down. Do this in a journal, set yourself goals, write down the highest level goal you want to achieve and follow through the process of breaking it down. As mentioned, don't just focus on one particular type of goal, write down all of your goals in each of the 4 categories previously discussed. Then, after you write down the goals and break them down, set the individual timescales of when you intend to achieve them. Once you have written it all down, look at the goals daily. Not just once in a while, not just once a week, but daily. It's critical to do this to stay focused on achieving the daily wins and hitting targets. And that's how you set your goals. But what about achieving them? Well, it comes down to 2 fundamental principles. The first is to take action. It's not just about working, but it's about taking massive action. You don't just do what's necessary, but you go the extra mile to do a little bit more. And those days you aren't sure whether you're up for working towards that goal, you do it anyway. I cannot state the importance of the last point. Step up even if you're not in the mood. You'll thank yourself later. Even now, I'm working on this video despite it being late, despite feeling tired, and despite knowing I could just put it off a day. However, that's not what I set out to do today, and I will work on this until I achieve the goal I set for myself. The second principle to achieving your goals is to live out the result. But what does this actually mean? Well, fundamentally it means that you be the person you intend to be now. Behave as though you know you will hit your goals and live the life you want to. as doing so is affirming the reality that you want to give to yourself. If you follow through and hit your goals, soon enough you will be living out the results you intend to in your life.
We'd be walking down the street and I would see a Master RX-8 drove by in red. I would tell my friends, hey, that's my car. And they're like, what are you talking about? No, that's my car. No, that's not your car. You're driving this like Master 3. That's not your car. You don't understand. That's my car. That's sharing it, right? I said it, I see it, I live it, and I share it. And let me tell you, when I make enough money, when I made enough money, I went to the dealership. And I walked into the dealership. And I told the salesman, I said, I want that car in red RX-8. Then salesman was like, would you like to test drive it? No. I said, I don't need to test drive it. Oh, let me show you all the features, Dan. Let me show you all the upgrades. No, I don't need to see that. I've seen it many times. I want to buy it. He said, well, you sure you don't want it? No. Just do the paperwork. I'm ready to go. He said, he told me in person, in private, he has never closed a sale that fast in his entire freaking life. Entire freaking life. That was it. So I walked out, I got the key, and I turned on the engine. I drove the car off the parking lot. Now you might think, isn't it awesome, Dan? At the time, it was your lifelong dream. Finally, you worked hard enough and you got the car. How do you feel? Let me tell you. There was no excitement. There was no jumping up and down. Yeah, finally I got my car. There was none of that. You know the only feeling that I felt when I drove the car off the parking lot? Is this is my car. I have driven this car hundreds of times in my mind. I've seen it hundreds of times. Now it's just like I'm taking this car home. I didn't feel anything. It's like deja vu. It's mine. What's so special about it? It's mine. That's what I'm talking about. That you set it, you see it, and you live it, and then you share it. That's how you actually set goals, and that's how you accomplish them.
Thanks for watching today's video. So I want to know what your long-term vision is. Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed today's video, please consider sharing it with others and achieve your goals by believing in them. I will be linking a video on setting up belief systems, which when you watch it will help you set up the structures to help you achieve amazing results in your life.